What's happening, everybody? Today, we have a special guest in studio. She's bi-coastal in LA and New York. And we've been chopping it up before I hit the record button, which is the kiss of death for me sometimes. But we have Iris in the house.
I'm literally holding one right now. Like,
you
look.
can see my office. So my office is like.
Yo, that was the first thing I noticed when I walked in.
It's on my arm. Like,
Oh,
huge O on my chest.
Oh,
like,
that's awesome.
I love all this stuff. So I got crystals in my car. Everything.
Awesome.
But that's how they would trade. Like they would trade time for
like
services.
Right?
Not like they're like
Money.
You can't pay rent. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah, right. You're not asking for money.
Yeah. So like. Probably 7 years ago, I went into all these different studios and had these sit downs with them. Like, look, you guys got to fix your mindset around money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay to have a business. Like, you're your own business.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you're into massage therapy and you're into Reiki healing. There's a price tag that comes with
Yeah.
that. If you guys all just charged, you're gonna be fine.
They don't know how to ask.
Yeah. I wanted to have a creative's perspective. Like, Kyle's the man. He's been with me since like the get.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to have your perspective on just the market, where everything's going, where you see it, and then I deal with a lot of millennials as far as like real estate. And
Yeah.
a lot of people are trapped in this like, well, I don't want to buy something because then I'll be stuck there. But what I really preach in the book is like, that's the reason why you buy a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, is you can rent them out
Right.
Yeah.
and travel the world.
That's
Don't
true.
buy like
That's
single
literally-
like family property.
Don't buy a single family house,
Yeah.
don't buy a condo or a townhouse as your first piece of real estate you buy.
Right.
You can buy them later, like that's fine. But in this country, we have these awesome programs, you put down 3.5%,
Yeah.
not 20
you
or
pay
25.
$6,000 and like you get a mortgage. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's these killer duplexes like in Cleveland, Ohio, that they're $60,000. So you're putting down literally like $3,000
Yeah.
to move in,
Yeah.
and the mortgage is
Renting out.
$480,
You-
and they're paying $550 for just that house you can live for free.
You're literally getting paid to set it up, everything up.
That's right. And then you have,
That's literally what you were talking about.
Yeah.
and that's your hustle. So I'm going all over the country speaking about this stuff now and how social media can blend those things together, how the conversation goes.
Yeah.
Because most people just think like, well, I'm supposed to buy a house.
Right.
Go buy a house first.
People like education was all messed up.
The education is broken.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hammering into everybody. I'm like, listen,
Yeah.
my creative friends.
Yes.
Like, we're getting them a fourplex. Like, that's
Yeah.
just,
So.
because you can do whatever.
You want,
Whatever. It doesn't cost that much to get them, and
Right.
you can travel. You can go and freelance. You can go
Right.
whatever,
Mhm.
and you could like, there's VRBO and Airbnb. You can do that to your own unit, and you can actually make money while you're off
Wow.
hustling and working.
Wow.
And then you have an appreciating asset.
Right, exactly.
It's not a car that loses money when you leave
Right,
or
the
a watch.
Yeah.
Like, and if you have your
We're
tenants,
just not educated with it.
no one knows.
No
I
one
know I was
knows.
30 years old. I stopped a huge meeting with all these lenders and all these big financial people because they were talking about this, and I go,
I literally just started
Were
learning
you guys
about this
talking
stuff on YouTube. And I was talking to her about it literally last week.
Yeah.
I was literally just saying to her about her.
we're going
Because I was
hard
thinking to
with
myself,
this.
like, oh, I want to get a house.
Yeah, and I was like, I literally
Right.
He wants to reach out to me. He's like, what do I do? I'm like, dude, if you buy a house, I will fly to New York.
Yo,
I'll
right,
pay
that's
you.
the first thing she said. She's like, I want to buy a house. And I was like, well, let's not buy a house. Let's buy like a multi-family house and then rent it out, and then we can also live in one of those apartments.
My man. My YouTube channel really speaks to that, and then how to flip houses to get cash to buy more buildings. So there's all these different things you can do. But Chris, who's actually putting on the event with those guys, he works for Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
And like that's
Chris
where,
got it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just talked to him an hour ago. He's like, dude, I got this
He's
property
actually
out
not
in
with
LA.
Grant anymore. He actually left, and he's with Diego now
Yeah.
at Go Marketing.
Yeah. So yeah, we just ducked into my website just came out like before the first
4Ds?
4Ds, yeah. And I was all in, but I was just trying to figure out like this game. And
Were
so
you
the
doing
website came out.
anything on social
Barely.
Barely. Yo, you've exploded like in the past year there.
Yeah, so like the past year is when I actually moved from my old team, because I think I can do this really well with like 4 people.
Yeah.
And
Efficiency,
then
too.
efficiency, yeah, just way better. And then I just found my little niche of like, this is what I'm going to kind of go all in on. And then I just followed Gary's blueprint.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really. It's nothing is outside of his playbook. I just was like, all right, if I do this and do this consistently every single day, it's going to grow. And then it did. And then the book took off, which was a huge help.
Yeah.
It was, it's been in Forbes, and it's been like, it's got a lot of really good press,
Crazy.
which was great because then it just opened up more doors. And then the podcast, I think I've only had one person not say that they wanted to be on the show or anything like that. So that's
every time that you like ask people.
Anytime I've ever DM'd anybody, yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah.
So then that started, I'm like, okay, well, this is going to get
Yeah, you have pretty good names on the show.
bigger, faster. Yeah,
really good.
We have a crazy lineup too, so it's gonna keep growing, and I just think it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun having conversations. Yeah.
You're like, I can't believe you
And
responded.
it's like personalized message.
100%.
Yeah. I'm doing a course on like Instagram stuff, and I was literally just doing a video on this today.
Dude, it changed the game like 3 months ago. I was like, I can be way more impactful, and they get to hear it from me.
Even if you start doing a quick video, you could do it the same thing.
That's the next jam. It's like, because like there's people like, this isn't you.
Yeah,
and I'll have to. And I'm like,
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Exactly.
People don't think it's me.
What?
Like, who else do you think's doing it?
Exactly.
Like a person on my team?
Yeah. Right.
No, I get that, because like Gary always had people asking him, yo, do you post by yourself? And he's like, yeah, he literally posts everything, writes the caption and everything. The team just sends him the content and he goes on.
So I try to tell people, I'm like, look, I'm not that bright.
Yeah.
But if you go like all in and you just really focus on this shit, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And plus, I've got kids now. Like rather than like all that stuff with fucking Gary's, like you're being an asshole to like your great grandkids if you don't do this. And then I'm like, oh shit, he's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it.
And it's like, you gotta think of it like you have information, value, and knowledge that if you keep it from the world, you're being selfish for like not sharing it with other people to help them. So,
100%.
What's happening, everybody? Today, we have a special guest in studio.
Yes, in studio.
In studio. She's bi-coastal in LA and New York. And we've been chopping it up before I hit the record button, which is the kiss of death for me sometimes. But we have Iris in the house.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? I'm so glad to be on this podcast. Thank you so much for having me, Andy.
Thank you for being here. And if you guys don't know who she is, you are going to by the end of this podcast. She is an incredible content creator. And I'll just let her give a little bit of a backstory, and then we're going to circle back into some of the stuff we were talking about before we hit record.
Awesome. All right. Hey, everyone. So I am a content creator and a brand expert. So basically, my history was, or how many people know me, is I worked for Gary Vee as a videographer. But before that, I actually had a YouTube channel back in college. My second year of college, I saw the fact that people were building brands online through content. And I was like, yo, like, this is a way for people to create a business or whatever they want to do with their brand, and you do that through creating content. So I basically created a YouTube channel around something that I was interested in, which was healthy cooking. So I made a healthy cooking show and built a brand around that. But I didn't want to be known as the person who was just like into cooking. I was more of like business minded and saw that, through this content, you could really create a name for yourself and create a business out of that. So then after college, I ended up working for Gary Vee, and I actually didn't want to work for him. Wasn't looking for a job, but I realized that I could really learn from him and learn how he builds brands and like grow a relationship with him and just see the behind the scenes of how Gary, is and how he builds businesses, and I really wanted to learn that side of it and obviously tell his story because he was someone who really impacted me in my life, in my journey, in the beginning of it, and I really wanted to help him. So that's kind of how it started, and now I kind of left Gary and I'm doing things on my own and having a business where I'm helping other people build their brands online. So it's been great, great journey so far.
How did you get into creating content from a younger age that led you to Vayner?
Yeah, so it was literally YouTube. like I literally saw people creating videos on YouTube, so I was a viewer of it. So I started off, you know, just making small skits when I was probably like 12 or 13, like just for fun. And I loved editing videos, but that was literally just like for fun. I used to do sports a lot, so I never really got that much into creating content. And it wasn't until really college that I was creating content for myself. So in high school, I would watch YouTube videos like YouTube vlogs, just people documenting their day on YouTube, and I was so intrigued by it because it was literally like them sharing their life, and I connected with them so much because of that, and I was like, yo, that's so fascinating. And then so that's the vlog side of content creation. And then in college, I saw people like Michelle Phan and Cassie Ho, who are makeup guru and a fitness guru. And they created their own like makeup empire and fitness empire from that. And I saw that through video, you could really connect with your audience. And that was like the key for me. It was like being authentic and sharing who you are and what you're into, what your passion is. And that could lead to something bigger and creating a name for yourself. So that's like really how I got started with all the content game. And so
that's
yeah.
awesome. So you got to see somebody be vulnerable through YouTube.
Yes.
And that connected with you because you all of a sudden say, well, wait a minute, this can lead to kind of whatever I want.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You're the driver.
Yeah, exactly.
You could video it, and then you could edit it any way you want.
Exactly.
And then put it up.
And it's like, yo, if you're authentic to your audience, it honestly doesn't even matter what topic you're talking about, but they'll connect to you. Like if you're into like, let's say makeup, but you want to transition into, you know, whatever it is, like this is extreme, but like real estate, for example, like some of these viewers, if you connect with them through creating content, they will follow you through that because they're just so in love with like you and they want to support you. So I kind of see it like that.
And there's people that have literally reached out to me that never in a million years thought they would ever even do real estate.
Yeah.
And there's a really good friend of mine. She loved interior design. And she had her own cookie line at Whole Foods, like just
That's
healthy,
so cool.
like unbelievable raw cookies. Now she's selling luxury real estate.
That's
Like,
amazing.
It's just
it's literally just brand. Like create content to build your brand and you can do anything with it. You know, I was talking to Gary about this. Like I was actually asking him when I was leaving the team, I was like, yo, what am I like good at? The best thing, because I want to become more self-aware about myself. And he's like, you understand storytelling and brand, you know? And so like that's like what I want to like help people with and push people to like create content, because you could literally do anything with that brand that you have.
I could not agree with you more. Brand is so important.
Yeah.
Storytelling is equally as important. But what's really hard is capturing that from a place of film and then editing.
Yeah.
Like you understand it.
Yeah.
Kyle understands it. That's awesome. I get it. I kind of know what I want, but I don't have that part of my brain to a point where like I could film something like you two and know how you're going to edit it.
Yeah.
And know what music you're going to use for this for this clip.
Yeah. So it's definitely a different mind. Like there's like sometimes like I do both business and creative side, and I have to go into I have to switch my mindset sometimes to go into the creative side when I'm like filming and editing content. It's a long process. So for example, like Kyle and I, when I worked for Gary, when in terms of like creating content and building your brand through documenting it, like you would literally film, you know, throughout the entire day, and like in the editing process, we would have to like create the story like in the footage that is already provided that you have.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So in terms of filming, like in the perspective of a vlogger for another business person, it would literally be, I would be creating the story of the vlog in my mind as the day was going, but I wasn't directing it, because you and like Gary are the drivers to that, and like I could never tell you what to do. You know what I mean? Like it's literally.
Right, but you hold the space of the creative. You're like, okay, here's what they're doing, and you bring in your piece of art to tie it all together.
Exactly.
Which
So
is magic.
Yeah. So it's like seeing what is given in front of me, and in the editing process, that's where the story is created.
Agreed. And you brought up a really great point of you have to wear different hats all throughout the day.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to pretend like they're the same person all day. That's just not even close to true.
Yeah, definitely.
Like we have different parts of the day that acquire that actually like you have to step into a different part of who
Yeah,
you are,
exactly.
right?
Like you can't be the home dad that you are when you're in business. Is exactly like that.
No, and I just had a conversation with somebody about that. I go, when I'm in a boardroom and I'm a savage and I'm trying to grind out these deals,
Yeah.
that is not the same person
Yeah.
that's playing with my kids 5 hours later.
Exactly.
Like they're literally different humans.
Yeah.
It's the same person, but very, very different mindsets.
Yeah.
So I like for people to at least embrace that. Like I'm very quiet in the morning. It's like 3, 4 in the morning.
Because it's your time, right?
Meditation's my time. It's quiet. And then the day comes to me and then I kind of get ramped up and then I have to unwind it every day. But I'm very different throughout the day.
Exactly.
I just think people just need to own that.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever heard of the alter ego?
Yes.
Yeah, where he puts on the glasses when he steps into his alter ego.
Todd.
Yes, Todd Herman.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Todd was just on Tom
Oh,
Ferry's
for real?
podcast.
Okay.
And I just got introduced to Todd yesterday.
No way.
And he
That's
told the story
hilarious.
on Tom's podcast about how
He wears glasses to become another
wears glasses
person.
for his alter
steps
ego.
into another person.
his story's fascinating.
Yeah.
I got
That's so
super into him yesterday. So funny you brought that up.
Yeah, what
And
a
then
coincidence.
I loved the story how he brought up was it Martin Luther King? How I think it was Martin Luther King. I always forget. I think it was how he didn't wear glasses. He put on glasses to become this person because the movement was so important to him.
Yeah.
And then he was never going to share the story, but it was Martin. And then he had a talk that he did. And when he came off stage, he was speaking to one of his relatives. And she said, this was incredible. This was great. And then he found out recently that his glasses were on, it's on display at an airport somewhere that's
Really?
super famous. And there's a card that basically says Martin Luther King never needed to wear glasses. And then he felt compelled to actually share that story that he had with his relative. I just think it's been happening for so long in our
cool.
history. It's so cool.
Yeah,
I love
I
that
actually
stuff.
just ordered some glasses, by the way,
Yeah.
to step into that
There you
other
go.
role.
I mean, I can kind of see it. There's so many athletes that like as soon as they put on the gloves, like it's on.
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
put on your
the
helmet,
uniform,
exactly.
it's like, yeah, exactly.
It makes
totally.
perfect sense. So it's funny because I was literally thinking about Todd when I just asked you about, because we have to wear all these different hats. And you're like, hey, have you heard of this guy?
Yo,
I'm like,
that's
yeah.
funny.
I'm telling you, like, nothing is by chance or coincidence. Like, and I hope this guy's book absolutely takes off because I think it's great.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's just, it's true. Like, you can pretend like you're this one-dimensional person.
Yeah,
but you're
exactly.
not.
So then when you're doing like business and doing real estate and like getting in the creative mode and stuff, or like just like talking to the camera, like how does your mind work in terms of the separation of that?
That is an unbelievable segue. When we first started, and Kyle can tell you the horror stories, it was this big boardroom and like me and the camera, like, you guys need to do this, do this, do this. And it was me just forcing all of my information onto you.
Got it. Yeah.
It did not work.
It didn't work right.
It was terrible. It was hard. It took forever. It took 100,000 cuts. And then one day, I was like, look, I got to go look at all these properties. Why don't you just grab your camera and then we'll just go drive the properties.
Yo, it's because that's your truth,
It's
right?
my truth.
That's
yeah.
your
So
truth.
all I did was I just spoke what I normally do in my head, and I'm valuing these deals, and I just talked people through it.
Exactly. And you let the creatives create the story around what you already is your truth.
Exactly.
That's literally like Gary. He doesn't tell me to do anything. I literally just
Capture.
and then I do everything.
So that was the pivotal shift in all of the stuff we were doing. Because like the next day we had like 38,000 views on that video. And my team called me like, you're going to do that from now on. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And it was me.
Yeah.
There was no like script I had to read the night before to go film. Like it was so forced.
Yeah.
And you could tell. So that was, and for me, it became really fun because I like to share what I learned.
Exactly. And you're living like in your true self. And that's why I really recommend people when they're creating content is stick to who you are. Stick to what's true to you. Because to be honest, when I was creating videos, I wasn't necessarily like the full authentic self because I was portraying an image where I wanted people to see what like I wanted them to see. You know what I mean? Rather than what's true. But then in the long term, you actually realize that people stick and connect more to you and your content because you're being authentic and true to that.
That's right.
And that's the way to win because you can't try to be like someone. You can't try to be like Gary. You can't try to be like Andy. You got to like stick with who you are, because that's the only way that you're going to ever like succeed and be happy.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And that makes perfect sense, right? Too bad the whole internet is full of not that.
Yeah.
Like there's
It's
so many
unfortunate.
people.
Yeah, but that's why we got people like you,
For sure.
you know, us, like to try to like push that message.
And that's just like the nature of something like the internet, right?
Yeah.
So everybody comes out and they do their thing. I think the next probably 2 or 3 years, and I really want to get your take on this, is where the content creation is going to go and how all of like the posers are just going to get pushed to the wayside.
Yeah. Well, in terms of that, content is going to increase in volume. Like people are going to be pushing out more content. People are starting to understand social media more and
Right.
how you need to put out content to have a reputation to even like be existing in like life, you know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Like, because you're literally a nobody if you don't have an Instagram.
That's
like
right.
Or like, for example, yesterday Instagram like crashed and like your reputation is like gone for a few hours, right?
Yep.
So I see it as people are going to be putting more content, and I actually think that, you know, it takes too much energy. Like right now, everyone, like a lot of people are faking it, but it takes a lot of energy, and that creates unhappiness, and people won't want to lean that way. I actually think it's going to get to such an extreme where people are just going to say like, not like, that's not worth it, and I'm going to go into the more like authentic way. So I see it more like a positive light of
I agree.
people are going to be, you know, putting out more content that's true, and that's how I see it.
Being vulnerable is a superpower.
Yeah.
Like when you just let people in, and like this was Friday. I shared something on a podcast that no one on earth knew. And it was because that person was holding space and being so vulnerable.
Yeah.
They gave me permission to do the same. And I was like,
whoa. Exactly.
and it felt good. Plus, I'm very open. I'm a very open book. I'm extremely vulnerable. But there was stuff I was holding back.
Yeah.
And even me just telling that story, I've told it like 10 times since.
Wow.
I didn't tell it at all.
Opened the gates to it.
Yeah, like there was just some stuff that happened when I was a kid, and it was from my babysitter, and she, you know, did some stuff she wasn't supposed to, and like, but I held that in. I'm 42.
Yeah.
Like, and there's so many people have had so much worse
Yeah.
done to them, but if I can relate to them even just a little bit.
Yeah. And it's like social media like creates a platform where you are like, it gives you the opportunity to say it too, you know? So it's like, it's amazing the thing with like pushing out content, and I just think it's just going to keep on going, you know. More people are going to be paying attention to social media and seeing like the impact of it, and that will allow more people to be creating content that is like truthful to them.
I completely agree. And it's this whole thing of like, this is going to live forever. Like, this is digital.
Yeah.
My great grandkids that I'm never going to meet are going to hear this. Like, that hit me like a 2x4 when I actually heard it from Gary. He's just like, you're being an asshole by not putting out content.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they have almost
gone.
3 years of me putting out content every day.
And seeing the growth of you
Exactly.
too, that's such an amazing feeling.
And they know what I'm about. Like,
Yeah.
they know how passionate I am about helping people.
Exactly.
It's not like something that they read in my book. They get to hear it and then see it.
It's a
So
huge
for me,
legacy.
it's super powerful. And legacy for me is everything.
Yeah. No,
Everything.
Definitely.
Like, it's not the commas and zeros. That's all great. That comes
Yeah, because
with-
you even like left, you know, what was going for you, walked away from that, went back to zero, and started going more into something that is more true to you.
There's nothing wrong with going broke and going to zero in your life.
Nothing
I think if
wrong.
you haven't gone broke at least once, you're not trying hard enough. Like,
I
if
like that. Yo, people just don't want to risk. They don't want to risk it. Like, I come from a community or like that's very like, you know, more Asian community, and like it's all about stability and like exactly as you were saying, like
risk averse.
Yeah, like you literally go to college, you get a good job, work at a tech company, and you buy a house. And like you're saying, you're trying to preach the message.
Don't do that.
Don't buy a house.
You can buy a house. I want you to buy a house, but don't buy a house as your first piece of real estate.
Yeah.
The first thing you buy should be an income property. And the first thing people say is, I don't have enough money.
Yeah.
Not true.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about off camera, $700,000 fourplex, $25,000 down.
That's crazy.
Like it's so
That's
possible. It's
crazy.
obnoxious. So that's what I'm really, really trying to push. But it's the options because like your culture, every culture has their stuff, right? And then it's most of it is like get a good job, go to college, because
Yeah,
that's what they know. But to break that lineage is difficult.
it is. It's difficult. And I think one way to tap into that is like through content. Like me, I want to push out through my content and messaging and like what I'm doing that like you don't have to be like that. You could literally create content around a thing that you like and build something out of that. And you will be so happy. Anything.
And you could be anything. I didn't know you shot hoops.
Yeah.
I see Instagram post. I'm like, you draining some threes, and I'm like, oh, she plays basketball.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly.
So like,
learn about people.
and you let
Yeah.
people in. Like that's why I go so hard on my stories. Is I want people to see me home at 3:00.
Yeah.
Be like, that dude's going this hard, and he's
Yeah.
home at 3:00. What's my problem?
Yeah, and you could literally like it's like more about like even creating the life you want to live,
For sure.
and you can do that. That's why as like a creative and business person, like I think in that way in terms of like putting out creative stuff that story tells who you are, and in that it leads you into so many more opportunities, whether that's a business you want to create, whether you want to do speaking around the thing that you're interested in, whether that's traveling, whatever it is.
Could be anything. I've gotten so many real estate deals off market
Yeah.
because people follow me for a
Yes.
year and then will send me a deal.
Yeah.
They don't comment. They never like anything. I barely even know who they are. Like, hey, love your content. Here's this property if you're interested.
Wow. It's like trust too. They know
It
you.
is.
They know you.
And it takes time to build trust in market,
Yeah.
obviously. And that's where people get a little confused. They're like, well, they ran 3 or 4 Facebook ads and they didn't get any business. No one trusts you, homie. Like, no one knows who you are yet.
Yeah, exactly.
This takes time.
Exactly. And that's why I recommend people to just put out content and stay authentic to that. So
Over and over. So that's another good segue. We have a lot of listeners here from all over the world. And some are young, some are old, some are trying to break into this game.
Yes.
Some are riddled with fear, and you know who you are because your cell phones shake when you do a Facebook Live. So what kind of advice could you give them as to like what's a good way to just start?
to start. Yo, I would just say that in the beginning, it's always going to be your like worst video. Like, and just understand that and accept it, because that acceptance will let you go and be free to doing it. But you literally just got to start, like take out your phone and like set it to the side. The lighting's going to be terrible. Like you might have a camera that I literally started with just putting shoe boxes as a tripod and just filming myself like in my little kitchen back in college.
And you should see these videos she produces now. They are ridiculous. And I'm so glad she said it. And I did not pay her to say this. You're going to suck in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, you will.
Yeah, you will. And like, don't be afraid of that, because literally if you don't put it out there, you're not going to start. Like if I had never put out that first healthy cooking video, like I'm not even doing anything around cooking right now, but you guys got to understand that you just got to put it out there. And in that process, you will adjust. Like you can adjust, and you have to give yourself the freedom to be like, all right, I can change. I don't just have to be pigeonholed to one thing. I think a lot of people may be scared because they're scared of putting themselves out there and like scared of how people will see them. But like, to be honest, like it's your life. You can't let other people's opinions dictate things that you want to do. Even if you want to make like a funny comedy skit, like go do it.
Do it.
Because like you never know where it will lead. And it's honestly not just about putting out content, but it actually helps reframe your mindset into a place where you just don't care what people think.
And I had a meeting in this room before this podcast with a very talented young lady, and she's listening to this right now. I know you are. It's not live, but we were talking about her and her YouTube channel, and she hasn't put it out. She is hilarious.
Really?
She is so funny.
Why did she say why she doesn't want to?
She just hasn't figured out how to do a YouTube channel yet. And I go, that's not an excuse. That's like a fake
Just
excuse.
go on YouTube and be like, how do I start a YouTube channel?
I know, I did that. So it's those things where you give yourself permission to fail. You give yourself permission to not give a shit about what anybody else thinks, and you just go. Like,
it's literally
who
a
cares?
mindset.
It is. It's all mindset. It's all
Putting
mindset.
yourself out there is a mindset game. And if you need to do work on yourself to get in that place, I would say take the time to do it, but also don't wait too long. Like literally putting out content will free yourself from that mental, like, restriction, mental block. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I do not care anymore.
Yeah.
Like I cared in the beginning.
Of
My
course.
ego was wrapped up
Yeah.
in some shit that I didn't even know I didn't care about.
Yeah.
So I cared for no reason. And then I realized like all my friends thought I was crazy. All my family stopped following my stuff. My whole world got real small. Like Andy has lost his mind.
Really?
And then I'm like, just wait.
Just wait, yeah.
And then
That's
it started to work.
exactly.
And now they're like, oh, and I was putting out like happy shit, like
Yeah.
motivational stuff, trying to help people.
Yeah.
And they were still coming
They were
at
like
me,
hating, right?
hating hard.
Exactly. That's the same thing with me.
Hard.
Yo, like I like exactly. Like I was like scared. I didn't want to put it out there because I was like, yo, how do people think? But now that I'm at a place where I'm super open to it and I realize like how it makes me feel and how happy I am by putting out content, like I'm like, that's why I try to recommend people who are just starting to not be like that and not let that hold them back, because if you never start, you're never going to fly.
And you're always going to wonder. Like for me, like I couldn't imagine what if my life would look so different.
Exactly.
I would have a very different office. We definitely wouldn't have a podcast studio in the office.
And
So-
you're meeting such dope people,
Yeah, it's
right?
fun.
Yeah.
Like, and I like people. Life is a people sport.
Exactly.
Business, I got a secret for you. It's a people sport. Everybody's like, ooh, the internet. It's still a people
Yeah,
game.
relationships,
It's
the connection. Yeah.
Always going to be. So we have some listeners that are confused about starting, which
Okay.
hopefully we covered that. They're just going to start.
Just start.
And we're going to start
just
following you and
just do
punking
it,
you if
yes,
you don't.
please.
It's not that hard. And then you start to rob your family of stuff, which we covered. And then you start robbing yourself of your own happiness. There are these guys and gals that I'm coaching right now in these little 30-day sprint challenges. They're different people because I force them to do Facebook videos every day.
Really?
In 30 days, they're completely different humans
Wow.
because they just get through that stupid fear.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going to happen?
It's literally,
Ooh, your friends are going to say some shit on
Yeah.
Facebook?
But you got to understand, at first they're going to say that, and then they're going to be like praising you for it and coming at you and being like, yo, can you help me? Because I want to do what you're doing.
100%.
And then you're like, yo, I told you this like 5 years ago. Why didn't you listen to me now? Or like, why did you hate on me back then?
And then they want to come work for you.
And exactly. I have literally friends who are like,
I know.
yo, can I come work for you?
I get it.
But
Happened
like
to
in the
me.
beginning, it's like they don't, it's like you don't get the support, but you got to understand you got your own support.
And you just appreciate it more. Like, I don't know. For me, it took me a year to start this podcast.
Yeah.
It took me a year to my first one because I was like, no one's going to watch it. No one's going to listen. No one's going to care.
What made you just do it then?
More of fucking Gary Vee saying like, I would give anything to hear like a podcast from my, and it was true. Like I would give anything to hear a podcast from my grandfather and one of his 8 brothers.
That's
like
true.
anything.
That's true.
They're all gone. I can see some pictures of them,
That's true.
but I don't know their personalities. I heard stories.
That's
Stories
true.
that are third and fourth hand are very different. If I could go back and listen to podcasts from my grandparents when they were coming out of World War II, like, are you fucking
that's
serious right now?
intense.
Like, that's, I guess I get goosebumps. Like,
I
so
know.
how am I going to rob my kids of that?
That's true.
And
yeah.
you know how therapeutic it is? So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, just the accountability part for me to plug into it was just a little blue microphone, whatever they're
Yeah.
called, like, and it was just my computer. It was just me.
Mm-hmm.
And on Tuesdays, I would do a 20-minute podcast.
Wow.
But I felt responsible to, like, everybody who was listening, all 7 people in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Of course.
I just did it. It was very therapeutic for me. It was awesome.
Yeah, and like as you're having conversations with other people, you're communicating your thoughts and you're actually becoming more self-aware about yourself, which is the cool part.
And you just get better at it.
Yeah, you can get better at it.
I get every time I sit down with somebody and interview, I get a little better.
Yeah.
And I used to say like probably every other word when I first started because I was nervous, and I would revert back to certain ways I would talk as a kid
Yeah.
because I was nervous.
Yeah. No,
I didn't care, and I was still nervous.
I get that.
So as I've just done more reps with
Yeah,
anything
for
else
sure.
in life.
For sure. Yo, I got to tell everyone who's listening to this right now, like when I was young in elementary school, I was literally the shyest person in the entire school. I didn't talk. I didn't want to talk to anyone. The only thing that gave me confidence was sports. So I excelled
too.
in
Me too.
sports. Yeah. But like that actually fueled me to like where I am today. And so I'm super comfortable with talking and putting myself out there and like becoming like extroverted in a way in certain situations. But like you can become, like I'm just saying, I was that shy person and I became someone who is not anymore, but you can be that too. Like, you can grow from that situation and not be like that and create more confidence for yourself by creating content. Because I truly believe that by myself putting out content on YouTube, I gain more confidence for sure.
100%. Some of the most talented, incredible people that I've sat across from in all these different interviews are introverts by trade. Like they, if you go back and you talk to them, they look like the biggest extrovert on earth.
Yeah.
They are introverted.
Yeah.
Because they've built that skill set. I was always afraid to go speak or talk because I stuttered really bad as a kid. So my fears, I would be so afraid that I'm going to say something, my whole face is going to lock up in a stutter and it'll be like, duh. And then that was it.
Exactly.
So that may have even been why I didn't start the podcast before. I don't really know for sure. But what I knew is I wasn't going to not do it because of any fear I had.
And now how do you feel with...
I love this shit.
Right?
It's fun as hell. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Was it fun in the beginning? Not really. But I still said I was going to do it, so I did it.
Yeah, because you got to learn the skill sets in creating it, and then now you're in the flow of it. So now it's much easier, and now you're like being yourself because you're fully confident in, you know, this ability, and now you're just having conversation.
It's just like the gym, or it's just like cooking. I love to cook. I'm a trained chef. Like, I love to cook.
Wow.
But when I first started, you know, it was scary.
Yeah.
I didn't know this huge, like, you know, books, all this crap in there. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But after a while, all of a sudden, you're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Or the gym's the same way. Like, I don't even know what to do in this place. And then
Just
all of a
like
sudden,
any other skill.
it's like anything else.
Yeah.
You just got to keep the sword sharp.
Yeah, keep going at it.
So you've transitioned from Vayner, which is like
Yes.
this huge mega digital agency, working with Gary Vee and on his team and creating incredible content.
Yes.
And it's given you the freedom to now do your own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
How has it been to kind of move from, it's not really corporate there, but it's still corporate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is corporate.
It is corporate,
It
right?
is.
Yeah. So from that to more of like freelance / you have to kind of cultivate all of your hustle now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I will say it feels amazing. Like, you know, when I never wanted a job. Like, I never wanted to work for someone else, but I was willing to work for Gary because, you know, I wanted to learn from him and how
smart.
he did it. You know what I mean? But leaving that, to be honest, like, the reason why I left there's a bunch of reasons, but I was like pretty burnt out there, like mentally and physically. Like,
it's a lot, right? I mean, because it's an intense team.
Yeah.
And it's go time all the time.
Yeah, it's go time. And, you know, it was just a personal decision for me, and I had certain things in my personal life that just caused me to leave there. But I knew I always wanted to do my own thing. So leaving it, I came with the mindset of I want to create the life that I want to live, and I want to help people with the knowledge and experience that I gained from my experience at Vayner and just doing things on social media. And I want to help other people storytell their brand and build them up because I know how to do it. Yeah.
I love it. So well said.
Yeah.
And that's when you know that it's time to work for yourself.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's like, look, I have this deep calling and I'm only going to be able to scratch so much of it here.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, a lot of my friends like talk to me about they're in a job and they kind of want to leave and do their own thing. And I just tell them, you know, if you don't go, like, there's always a timing, right? There is a timing to things and certain situations where you have to stay in a job. But in most cases, in terms of like the mindset of things, if you're not sharing your gift from the world because you're causing something else to restrict you from that, you're being like selfish by keeping that gift away from, you know, the people that want to
being selfish to everybody, yourself, the world. My favorite thing to do is to watch people on their quest for mastery, or they're in it. Like, that's, I don't care if it's singing or the piano or if you're an athlete or if you're a film producer. Like, I love watching people that are in the pursuit of mastery or they're just in it right now.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm like, whoa. I just get impressed. I don't care what it is. I just like people that are on that quest.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're doing what they're here for, and it's cool that they can help so many people with that and see how their gift impacts like millions and billions of people.
And that's the thing, is the world got real small with all these digital devices.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, in your professional opinion, where do you see the podcast world? Because it's started to explode. It's funny because it's one of the older
Yeah.
deals. Like, I mean, like radio is one of the older things before TV and then TV to digital.
Yeah.
And we're kind of coming full circle now with like
It's crazy.
audio. Yeah. And then the quality of the audio and where you kind of see certain podcasts might fall off because it's not as impactful on your cell phone when you're at the gym or in your car because the quality's, changed.
Yeah, podcasts are just huge now, and they are going to become like even bigger. Everyone wants, a podcast, and everyone wants to listen to podcasts. And I think the reason to that is people love hearing other people's opinions and thoughts around things and creating content around that. It's like an easy way to tap into someone's mindset on something that they want to learn. So I definitely see podcasts becoming like huge. You could literally listen to it like when you're at the gym or driving or anything. But I think the real reason as to why it's really working is because you're learning about someone, you're going into someone's brain and like learning what they have to say. So it's huge.
I'm 100% with you. I listen to podcasts 90% of the time in my car.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like a book. Like you can read a book or you can listen to a book from somebody that spent their entire lives mastering a topic.
Exactly.
And I can listen to the whole thing in 6 hours? Like, what? Are you serious?
Yeah,
and
you
that's
learn so much.
You learn so much so fast. So that's when I got really into books and listening to these audiobooks. Is I'd go on these like 6-hour bike rides and I was training to try to be like a professional triathlete, but I would ingest these books.
Yeah.
And then I started to move into podcast.
Exactly.
And then I had there was these beautiful minds that have these battles. And then I got to pick which one was like correct or I loved to learn. It was fun.
Exactly. And I think the thing with podcasts, it's like there's no faking it. Like literally it's you're having an authentic conversation with someone, and it's not like, more like podcast is where you're just having a truthful, authentic conversation. And in other areas where maybe people are, faking it online and stuff like that, or like creating a script around something like this is not it. So I think because the internet and social media has become such that a lot of people are leaning towards, creating authentic human conversations.
And it's organic. Like we didn't plan out what we're going to say.
Yeah, no, not at all.
And so like even like a book, like this book had to go to a publisher. They had things I had to like change.
Yeah.
That's not how podcasting is. And that's why I think it's resonating with so many people. And to your point, you can learn real fast.
You can learn so fast.
Like if you want to learn about content creation, go listen to some podcasts on some really cool people creating content.
Exactly. And before that, you weren't able to, right? Like if you wanted, like for example, with you, if you had not created a podcast or no real estate agent had a podcast, what is the person who wants to become one going to do? They're going to go and work for someone who is doing it, but also they could learn from it by just listening online for like an hour a day, and you learn so much information just from learning on the podcast.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I literally listened, not read. I'm a terrible reader, a terrible writer, all that stuff. I would listen to these books on real estate investing a good 2 years before I passed the test.
Wow.
I knew more about real estate investing before I even got licensed.
Wow.
Because that was an option.
Yeah.
And those options keep getting bigger and faster. And the cool part now to kind of like link podcasting and Facebook and Instagram together, you can send somebody a DM on Instagram.
Yep.
Connect with them and do a podcast, provide value to the world.
Exactly.
And then repeat.
It's so easy. Like literally anyone listening to this who wants to start a podcast, there's literally nothing stopping you but your own mind. Like that's it.
That's how we connected.
That's it.
I have a little secret for you guys. 99% of every guest I've ever had on the show was through Instagram DMs. Real simple.
Yeah. It's just that.
And
it's so easy.
This is the first time in the history of our planet you can get straight to the decision maker.
True.
Right? Like even before where it's like email my assistant, like maybe that ever hits your radar. Yeah, but you could
literally just hit the guy or girl you want to talk to.
From an A-list celebrity to a top athlete to the person who owns the pizza shop in your neighborhood.
There's no one in the middle.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Which is hurting the PR business, but like still, I like the way that I can reach out to people that I want to have a conversation with, and I don't have to go through 25 chains of command.
Exactly, and you're putting out content for people to understand you and your brand, and so by just looking online on your social medias, they understand who you are already. So it's like instantly, if they like vibe with you and all the things that you're doing, they're going to say yes.
And that's what happens.
Exactly.
They'll literally go, who's this guy? And they'll look at my thing like, oh, cool. Oh, okay, cool. Within an hour, it's like, cool. Shoot it to my assistant to schedule.
Yeah.
And then like I have my assistant reach out to them, and then it's scheduled. We're flying, we're flying to Arizona on Tuesday. It's not that hard.
No,
if you're
not at
willing to
all.
put in the time and the energy, and you actually give a shit. Like if you don't care, like don't.
Yeah. If you don't care,
If you don't give a shit, don't.
But if you're like thinking about it and like wanting to, but you're afraid, you gotta understand there's so many people doing it. You just gotta follow their model if you don't know how, or just look online on like how to start a podcast and everything else with the educational side. But the mindset part, just get rid of that fear. Understand that you're missing out on so much if you don't do it. So those are the little recommendations I have for people who want to, start.
It's a huge business tool. Like,
yeah.
people are going to look you up that want to do business with you.
Yeah.
If you don't have a presence, I'm automatically skeptical.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
why aren't you anywhere? What are you hiding?
Exactly. Like, if, go ahead.
Well, and it's like the same with real estate, for example. If I go to your real estate page and all I see are perfect kitchens and houses, and I'm like, what are you hiding? Where's the person?
Yeah.
Same thing with content creators. A lot of them don't like to be in front of the camera. So that's these perfect videos of other people. They're talented, but who are you?
Yeah.
Who's the operator?
Exactly. And it just goes back to the same thing as we talked about, authenticity, right? People understand who you are. And by understanding who you are, people are going to connect with you and trust you. So in terms of, business, the way you do business, people want to do business with you is because they trust you. So by building that brand, you'll build your reputation and presence. It's literally your reputation. Your brand online is that. And once people know who you are, like, they will want to do business with you.